This is scene 4. So I give you a brief, a glimpse of scene 3 here. And from that glimpse, we go back to scene 4, right? We go back to scene 4, wherein we go back to Belmont. And this is, finally the cycle coming to an end towards the closure, wherein you started with adjacent scene, right? One scene in Venice, the other one in Belmont. So in scene 2, this pattern was kept aside for some time because there were major developments taking place in Venice. Now when you come to scene Act 3, the sequence have been followed. So you have one scene in Venice, then you go back to Belmont, then you come back to Venice, then you again go back to Belmont. So where is it? A Belmont, a room in Portia's house, and there enters Portia, Nerissa, and then you have Lorenzo, Jessica, and Balthazar. And this scene is again very, very important. This tells you that right now Bassanio is not there, Salerio is not there, Gratiano is not there. That means they all have left for Venice, right? So they are somewhere in the journey. While you have over here Portia, Nerissa, Lorenzo, and Jessica. So that means one of those people who came along with Salerio over there with the letter, right? Rather, Salerio has forced him to accompany him in the version of Lorenzo. He stays back along with Jessica, while there is a new entry in this term, this word, this person, this name is very, very important for you, and that is Balthazar. This name is going to be there till the end of the play, and hence it becomes very, very important. And you need to track and keep yourself very alert. Which Balthazar are we talking about and at what point of time in the play? But the name is very, very interesting. All right. So curiosity there. And while we keep brooding over it, let's move ahead and see what Lorenzo has to say. Lorenzo says, "Madam, although I speak it in your presence, you have a noble and a true conceit." So there's Lorenzo there, and he speaks to Portia and says, "Madam, although I speak in your presence, you have a noble and a true conceit." I am sure you must have known that there are certain hadith. I mean, your hadith where your teachers might have definitely told you that don't praise people on their face because it's not supposed to be a very good manner to really praise someone. But that's why you see the excuse here. There are plenty of things in Shakespeare. I mean, we are just coming to the end of Merchant of Venice, and if you go back and restart your journey in flashback, you would know plenty of things Islamic. And that's why I always keep on telling, all that's good is essentially religious, and that which is essentially religious is essentially Islamic. You just need to change your perspective. Start from the good, come to the Islam, you would be in the right place. You start from Islam and then try to do all the good, I'm sure you're going to go astray. And that's where the role of, you have a lot of criticisms coming in, because your focus is here. Do the good. Do the good, and all that's good, all that's acceptable in the society, all that's good, as a practice, as part of the culture, they all are essentially Islamic, I'll tell you, right? And ever since I delivered that special paper on, the influence of Islam on the literary creations of Shakespeare, I have been all the more inspired. Right? And every time I read it, I don't know how many times I've read it, maybe a couple of dozen times with the students, and plenty of times I've read it, but every time I read, something different to unfold, right? And it's a great pleasure to be with you. I know this is not a very favorable mode for you, but for me, it's always a pleasure, whether it's online, whether it's offline, whether it's digital mode, whether it's in physical interaction with the class. I love it every time. So let's take it. "Madam, although I speak it in your presence, you have a noble and a true conceit." You have a very noble, you have a very true conceit. Conceit over here mean understanding. You have a very true, very genuine understanding of God-like amity. Amity, friendship, right? God-like friendship. God-like friendship. What would God-like friendship be like? God says friendship, how is it? God says friendship is unconditional. I'm sure I don't need to really throw lights on that, but God says friendship is unconditional. Whether you return back, whether you're going to go back to the mosque and to pray him 5 times or not, God will really love you, and he still loves you. And he only has that expectation. Come back to me. I'll take you in my fold. That's That's the magnanimity. That's his kindness, Lord the Almighty Allah. That's his kindness. We should be ready to go back to him. I know at times it is very disgracing. You feel very ashamed of whatever you have done, but never be so very ashamed that you do not go back to the Almighty. He is always there with his arms open, wide open to take you back in. Right? So, madam, although I speak in your presence, you have a noble and a true conceit of God-like amity, which appears most strongly in bearing thus the absence of your Lord. And where do I get this? Where do I get this understanding from? The fact that your friend has left, the fact that all this while you have been waiting for this true moment to decide your fate, that someone, that dream person is there before you, has made the right choice of the casket. There could be an excitement and a wild ecstasy that you would be a part of. Despite that fact, you have allowed him to leave, and you are able to maintain yourself. You are able to patiently bear the absence of your husband. That tells the strength of your character. And this strength of the character makes me feel that you have a very genuine understanding, very good understanding, right? These are the words from Lorenzo, mind you. Lorenzo doesn't probably know Portia for so long, hasn't been knowing her for so long. So how much does he know? I don't know. But then when somebody is able to make that sort of a characterization, you can understand. You can understand there is some truth in Portia's character. And we are coming almost to the close circle, right? But there's something more. That's not all. That doesn't end, right? So there's more that you're going to hear about Portia. So let's carry this on. But if you knew to whom you show this honor, how true a gentleman you send relief, how dear a lover of my Lord, your husband, I know you would be prouder of your work. Now you see what he does. First, he praises her, and then he says, let me also tell you. Basically, these are consoling words. He wants to extend his consolation to Portia, to tell her that she should not feel so bad about it. Why? Because she has actually sacrificed for somebody called Antonio, whom you don't know. She says that you don't know Antonio. You don't have knowledge about this Antonio. How true a gentleman. Now, we have already heard about, we have already seen what Bassanio said about Antonio in the previous scene, right? A scene before, I mean, in towards the close of, while he was, really explaining to Portia, was he his dear friend? He says, my dearest friend and the kindest man. Remember that particular speech? Wonderful speech. I told you to underline all those. Best condition, all those I told you to underline. Now you see a reiteration of that. Lorenzo says that he's a true gentleman. And you don't exactly know what kind of a gentleman is Antonio for whom you have sacrificed. You have sent a relief to him in the form of Bassanio. And how dearly he loves your husband. How dear a lover of your husband. The moment you get yourself to feel this, I'm sure you would feel prouder of your work. There's a reason why you should feel proud of yourself. But if you know this gentleman for whom you have sacrificed, you would feel even more proud than customary bounty can enforce. In a normal, under customary means usual, ordinary, bounty, being kind. It says being kind itself is a self-satisfying act. Wonderful, underline. I don't know what I'm going to say, what I'm going to speak, but these lines, when they come in, only Allah lets those words come out from my mouth. And I hope that you take it that way, right? So, the act of kindness itself is a self-satisfying thing. But I'm sure if you know for whom you are doing this kindness, you would be even more proud than the usual practice. Portia replies, I composed lady, she doesn't get carried away that easily. Portia says, I never did repent for doing good, nor shall not now. I have done something good, I know. I don't repent. Why did I do it? Wonderful. What thoughts? Just understand. Sometimes, sometimes when you have done something good and you find that, I should not have given. Sometimes, somebody came in for help. Okay, give me some amount of money, and then you helped out of charity, sympathizing with him. And then later on, you see this person going and doing some horrible things here and there, and you feel so bad about it. I should not have given him the money. That's a regret. Look at Portia, says, I never did repent for doing good. If I have done something good, the problem is not that whether this person took that goodness and did something good with himself. No, I did something good or not. That's my point. We often become so very critical of the response on the other side. No, you did not. I did to him. Then also this person did not respond this way. I did this thing to him. Look at him, how he behaves and what is it. And so we are always very critical about the other person, other side of it. I think the focus should be here. Did I do something good? Can I do something more? That's something very, very important. It says, I have never repented for doing something good. So even now, I don't have any regrets that I have allowed Bassanio to go to Venice. No. For in companions, and then she gives an answer. First of all, she says that I don't repent, so I'm not regretting. I'm fine. I'm absolutely fine. Then foreign companions that do converse and waste time together. Waste is spent. Over here, waste doesn't mean waste. It means spend time together. And look at what wonderful. I told you, by the time you come to the end, I'll give you some, Shakespeare would have given you some lovely lessons on friendship. Look at this friendship. Beautiful. It says, foreign companions means companionship in friendship. In friendship, when people converse and spend time together, when they talk together, when they sit together, when they spend time together, what happens, It says, whose souls do bear an equal yoke of love. Two souls having love for each other. Mutual love. Equal yoke means the burden, means connected. You must have seen two bullock pulling a bullock cart. Right? How do they pull? With the yoke, the wooden plank that is kept on both the bulls right in front. Right? So that's called a yoke that connects both. Though they are walking apart, but it connects that wooden plank, that yoke. So yeah, the two souls, two different souls, two unique individuals, friends with each other. Beautiful. There must be needs a like proportion. And she says that if this is true, let me tell you, that there must be some similarity, like proportion of what? Lineaments, manners, and spirit. Lineaments, characteristic traits. Two friends are good, or two friends are there, itself tells me that there are some similarity of goodness among both of them. That is shared mutually by them. Characteristic traits, manners, spirit. Like minds. It's supposed to be a mental match, which makes me think that this Antonio, being the bosom lover of my Lord, must be like my Lord. See how you can maintain. Lorenzo says this man is a true gentleman and whatnot. In a way, he means to say Bassanio is nothing in front of Antonio. You should feel really proud of. But she, as a wife now, would want to feel all the good about the husband and would never let another individual be superimposed. Look at this balance that she creates. She doesn't feel good. She doesn't feel bad. Look at the balance that she creates. And she can render anyone speechless, me including. Speechless. Look at what she says. Says, it makes me think, since they are friends, since you say they are good friends, let me tell you, good friends cannot be a one-sided traffic. It cannot be a one-way traffic. It has to be a two-way affair. And if it is a two-way affair, it makes me think that Antonio, being the bosom lover, such a close lover of my Lord of Bassanio, of my husband, must needs be, I understand Antonio from my husband. Since I like Bassanio, I like his characteristic features. That's why there are reasons why I like Bassanio. And because I like his friend as well. Because I think his friend must be as good as Bassanio is. I don't mean to understand from there. My Lord is as good as Antonio. Beautiful. Look at the perspective, the way things can change and the way you can change. You just need to be very, very conscious of what you say at times. very conscious, and maintaining one's composure, always composed, not getting carried away by emotions so quickly, so suddenly. Beautiful. Being the bosom lover of my Lord must needs be like my Lord. If it be so, and if this is true, how little is the cost I have bestowed in purchasing the semblance of my soul from out this state of hellish cruelty. I only think that I have sacrificed so little. How little is the cost? I have sacrificed so little. To do what? To purchase, to buy, to send relief to the semblance of my soul. Bassanio is the semblance of my soul. Now I relate myself to Bassanio, and Bassanio is related to Antonio. So in a way, I am buying myself. I am relieving my own self. If I'm providing some relief to Bassanio, in a way I'm providing relief to Antonio, and in a way I'm providing relief to my own self. So very little that I have sacrificed for my own self, I should say. Right? That too from a hellish cruelty, that cruelty, of course, the cruelty of Shylock that was being talked about. And then look at the consciousness. Beautiful. Where do you get such people these days in 21st century? Amazing characterization. Amazing. And see, this comes too near. The moment she says this, what would you feel? Hey, Portia is so great. Yeah, really? But Portia also realizes that whatever I have said is an act of self-praising myself, which I should not be doing it. Conscious, very conscious. Such a great presence of mind, I would say. Great presence of mind. This comes too near the praising of myself. Therefore, no more of it. I don't want to talk on this anymore. Here are the things. I have certain other things to say. And this becomes very, very important. What are the things? Lorenzo, I committed into your hand the husbandry and the manage of my house. Lorenzo, you take care of my house. Suddenly, surprise, you take care of my house. How can Lorenzo take care of her house? Lorenzo is somebody as a stranger coming in over here with Jessica, right? So, but then you find, she says, commit into your hand the husbandry, the manage, the caretaking, that, all that you're going to take care of my house until my Lord's return. You shall be the Lord of the house. For mine own part, I am not going to be here. I have toward heaven breathe a secret vow to live in prayer and contemplation. I have made a vow. I have made a promise to the Almighty that I'm going to spend time in meditation. I'm going to spend time in prayers. I'm going to pray for Bassanio. I'm going to pray for Antonio. And in all that, I need meditation. And hence, I'm not going to stay here. Only attended by Nerissa. And only Nerissa is going to stay with me until her husband and my Lord's return. Until her husband returns, Krishano. Until my Lord returns, we are going to spend together time in meditation. There is a monastery 2 miles away from here. Where? A church. Yeah, 2 miles away from here. We are going to spend time over there, and there will we abide. I do desire not to deny this imposition, that the which my love and some necessity now lays upon you. My love, and there are certain needs that I have to take this decision, and I request you, and I expect that you do not deny my request of taking care of my house in my absence. So something is happening, something is brewing, some plan somewhere working, right? We shall see. So curiosity level goes, Madam, with all my heart, I shall obey you all in fair commands. Madam, I'm ready. He should be ready, but he has nowhere to go right now with Jessica, right? He's a runaway from home, runaway from Venice. So he doesn't have anything to do. So it's a kind of a great fun time living there in Belmont and taking care of and becoming the Lord and the master and mistress of the house, right? So something as an opportunity, you might say on a lighter note. More serious terms, Portia says, oh, my people do already know my mind and will acknowledge you and Jessica in place of Lord Bassanio and myself. And so farewell till we shall meet again. Very clear terms. You take care of the house. I go to the monastery. I'm going to pray and spend time in meditation. And till we come back again, you shall be here. Lorenzo, fair thoughts and happy hours attend on you. Wishing her farewell, goodbyes, take care, whatever. Jessica, I wish your ladyship a heart's content. I wish you have your heart's desire fulfilled. Portia, I thank you for your wish, and I'm well pleased to wish it back on you. I also wish the same for you. Fare you well, Jessica. And having said that, exit Jessica and Lorenzo. Jessica and Lorenzo leave from there, probably to take care of the house, and then she's left with Nerissa. And she's left with Nerissa here. And you see, now Balthazar, there's somebody else. I told you early on, there's somebody else standing there, Nerissa there along with Balthazar. Now Balthazar, as I have ever found the honest and true, So let me find this still. So probably this Balthazar is a servant to her, and he has always been a very honest and a true servant. So he says, I have always found you as true and honest. I hope with the work that I'm assigning right now, you will also prove to be honest and true as we have always been in the past. Take this same letter, very, very important. Note it down. The mystery. We get into the mystery, right? Things become a little more, you start anticipating what's going to happen next. Take the same letter and use thou all the endeavor of a man. Endeavor of a man? With all your effort. Take this letter and with all the effort that you can put in speed to Padua. So a particular place there, P capital over there, proper noun. You need to take this letter to Padua. See thou render this into my cousin's hand. She has a cousin as well, and his name is Dr. Bellario. All these names are very, very important. Circle the name and keep that in mind. These are all part of the mystery that you need to connect to finally reveal and bust this mystery finally. And when will it happen? I don't know even. So let's carry this on. It says, you go to Padua, give this letter to my cousin, Dr. Bellario, and look what notes and garments he doth give you. And when you give him the letter, do wait, because he's going to respond. He's going to write some notes for you. He's going to write some notes and give it to you. He's going to give you some garments as well. Bring them, I pray thee, and bring that all to me with imagined speed unto the Tranect, to the common ferry which leads to Venice. So there's this particular ferry, Tranect, the connecting point between, from where the ships, Tranect, from where the ships would leave for one nation or another nation. So from Belmont to Venice, perhaps, right? So unto the Tranect, to the common ferry, which trades to Venice. So from there, you would always find ships going to Venice. So going to Venice, he says she's going to the monastery 2 miles away from here. Here she tells Balthazar, you take this letter, go to Padua, get a letter and garments, whatever you get, bring it and bring to the Tranect. So the mind is working, right? Waste no time in words, but get thee gone. Leave immediately. I shall be there before thee, and I will reach that. I'll ensure that we reach the Tranect before you arrive over there. Balthazar says, Madam, I go with all convenient speed. I'm going with all possible speed that I can in my own capacity. Portia says, come on, Nerissa, I have work in hand that thou yet know not of. He says, come on, Nerissa, I have got some plan. I've got some work in hand that you are not aware of. We'll see our husbands before they think of us. We want to see our husband even before they can imagine or think about us.
Nerissa says, shall they see us? Portia says, yes, they shall. They shall see us, Nerissa, but in such a habit that they shall think we are accomplished with that we lack. So they will look at us and they would think that we are actually complete individuals, but we will be complete with something which we do not actually have, that they are going to perceive. In a sense, she was talking about disguise. We'll be disguised as someone who would appear to give an impression that we are complete individuals. From within, we would be lacking that entirely. This also suggests that they would perhaps be dressed as, perhaps be disguised as men. And which she reveals in the next line. She says, I'll hold thee any wager when we are both accounted like young men, I'll prove the prettier fellow of the two. She says that we're going to accounted, we're going to be disguised. We're going to be disguised as men. And I'm sure when we are disguised as men, I'm going to look the prettier fellow of the two. And she says, I'm going to bet on this. Right. So there's a little bit of fun. There's a little bit of excitement that she wants to bring in at this point of time before anything can happen. And there's something serious brewing up. Something serious that is brewing up there in Venice. Something serious regarding the Marybond. Something serious regarding Antonio and Shylock. Right. So something really serious about a pound of flesh. So amidst that as a backdrop, when you think of that, this is fun, this is exciting, this is very light in comparison to this contrast is also very, very important. This contrast is also very important. And in drama, particularly Shakespeare's tragedies, if you are really looking at, you would definitely see this contrast. You know, it's called a dramatic irony. It's called a dramatic irony when you have a scene, a very serious scene coming up, a little later in the play. Just before that, or shortly before that, you'll have a scene in a very light vein. This is called dramatic irony. Anyway, that's a little too serious for you at this point of time, so you need not worry about it. Let's try and enjoy what she has to say. That they shall nurse, but in such a habit that they shall think we are accomplished with what we lack. What is it that they lack? They lack manhood, but they would be presenting themselves in such a way that they would think, what a man, wow, what a man. Right. So I'll hold any wager, when we are both accounted like young men, I'll prove the prettier fellow of the two and veer my dagger with the braver grace. And then she begins the specifications that, her observations, how do men behave in terms of their behavior, in terms of their overall presentation, in terms of the manner of their walking, everything in very detail. And that tells you basically that she had been a very avid observer of things in life. Somebody who is very keen on making observations. Look at what she says. She says, "I'll go to veer the dagger with a braver grace." Right. So it was, girls and feminine gender was generally associated with something, timid in character, timid in behavior, timid in nature, right? Soft-hearted. So they don't, when possibly you hand a dagger to them or ask them to hold a sword. I'm not talking about Ertugrul. I'm not talking about Ertugrul, where you had seen the ladies participating in the war. And that has been in the history of Islam as well. You know it very well. But we're talking about a very conservative society, the English society, the Elizabethan society, where women were in general, and even today, women in general are considered to be, timid in nature. But I'm not talking. I'm sure I'm not addressing you as because I've got such a wonderful people in my class, and both men and both the girls and the boys. They're very brave individuals. But anyway, she says that if I were to, I'll put on the dagger there. That's my presentation. I'll put on dagger, and then while doing that, I'll put up a very brave face, and speak between the change of man and boy. And it was this point that I was basically trying to highlight upon in the last class when I was telling you how avid an observer she is. She says that I'm going to speak, because speech is also something very, very important. Your voice is something very important, because which could easily help a person to identify whether a person is a man or a woman. Right? Because, technically speaking, scientifically speaking, the girls have got a higher pitch than the boys, who comparatively have a flat pitch. So you know it very well. But she says that I'm going to confuse people. I know I cannot really talk about men, I really cannot talk exactly like men. And I know I cannot talk like a woman, because I need to disguise myself, present myself as a man. So I'm going to confuse people. They'll be confused, and they would not be able to easily identify that this is a voice from a boy. Well, I'm going to speak in the voice in a transition phase. And I described before you the entire procedure, the entire, how does the voice change, and the coming of the, Adam's apple, and the vocal cords, and I spoke a little about that in the last class. But anyway, she says that I'm going to speak between the change of a man. I'm going to speak in a voice that is characteristically, a feature when a boy transforms into or gets into an adulthood. There's a brief period of time when you don't find your voice very consistent, very constant. It's very rough. It's squeaky at times, right? So this is what she says, and let's see what else she has to do. So with the reed voice, that is a rough voice, and turning two mincing. Not only that, she says, and turning two mincing steps into a manly stride. Now, women generally walk slow. Why? Because it's not that they are slow, it's just about the stride that they take. The stride, according to her physique, is not supposed to be a very long one. And this is something important that you need to focus on. I don't mean to say the girls cannot take a longer stride, but they walk that way. It's ethically, or from the point of view of the way, the manner in which they are made, they walk with smaller steps than men, comparatively having a larger stride, or into a manly stride. So she says, I'm going to convert those small stride into, that means she's taking all precautions not to get identified, or identifying them as women would be something very, very difficult. And it's not only that. There's something more that she says, and I speak of phrase like a fine bragging youth and tell quaint lies how honorable ladies are. My goodness. Look at what he says, what she says here. She says, I'm going to speak of phrase. Now, again, if you have a group of men and a group of women, group of boys, you might have experienced this as well, group of boys or a group of girls, their nature of conversation is different. When you have the boys sitting all together and talking about, I was very angry, and so I just couldn't control my anger. I gave him a good punch, a solid punch, and then he started, maybe he got bruised, or he started bleeding, or something like that. So this is what they talk. Or they're talking about a hairstyle, or they're talking about some new trends that is there, jeans that is there, maybe, so boyish kind of conversation. On the other side, when you talk, I don't mean to really spark any humor there, but that's a fact. When girls get together, they have a very different story. Last night I went to that marriage party. Oh my God. And this lady was so pretty. She was wearing a dress, a long gown, and blah, 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 blah. Right. So the nature of conversation of women and girls and that of boys are very different. So she as an observer has an idea about that. And she says, I'm going to talk about war. I'm going to talk about fight. I'm going to talk about battles. When I am around people, I'm going to talk about this. Like a fine bragging youth and tell quaint lies, how honorable ladies sought my love, which I denying, they fell sick and died. And he says that I'm going to talk about lies as well. I'm going to lie. Lie what? I don't know whether you have experience or not, but boys, at times, when they talk, he says here that I'm going to talk about, I have certain lies. You need to take a quick look at the annotations for the word quaint. Okay, so that will give you a bit of idea of what is being talked about. Quaint means artful. You really make it up. Make it up, the story that you make it up, the lie that you make it up. So, and tell quaint lies, how honorable ladies sought my love. Yeah, bragging you, I'll brag it off boastfully, and then I'll say that, that particular lady, that honorable lady, she fell in love with me. She proposed to me, and you know what? I denied. And when I denied, she fell sick, and then she died. I could not deal with her. And I couldn't do anything. What could I do? She proposed to me and I couldn't, reciprocate her love. And she fell sick and died. And then I'll repent. And then I'll say, but you know what? I really feel bad. I really feel bad today. I feel a sense of guilt within me and wish for all that I had not killed them. And then I wish those ladies may not have been killed. I wish I shouldn't have been involved in, some way in their death. So this is what she says in it. And then she says that she assures that, and 20 of such puny lies I'll do. And so I have a list of such lies. I can create such lies. I know what boys are like and what nature they have. And I have got a list of all those, and I'm going to use that. So she's mentally very prepared. She's mentally very prepared how so that means the plan is very concrete. It's not a random plan that she has made. There's something into it. There's some purpose into it. And we'll see what it is for. Is it for fun or is it for something really very, very serious? In the meantime, let's try to conclude this. She says, and men shall swear. And how would people respond? I'll tell it in such a manner, I'll tell these lies in such a manner, I'll brag myself in such a manner, I'll boast myself in such a manner, I'll present myself in such a manner that men shall swear I have discontinued school about a 12-month. That men who would hear me, who would see me, who would look at me, who would observe me would feel, he's just a fresh pass out from school. He's just a fresher. Though she's quite grown up and matured, lady about to get married, but perhaps she would give a presentation as if it's just a school pass out. Just a school pass out, very much like you people, you'll be passing out of class 10. But anyway, your school completes after 11 and 12. So maybe after 11 and 12. So, school boys, school girls, how they are, you're more free, more freedom there, more enjoyment, more of fun over there. And that is what she says. I'm going to pick up that phase, because that also has to link necessarily with the voice, because that age has to matter. Late teen age, right? So that is the time that she has picked up, because it's a very confusing kind in terms of voice. She says that she's going to confuse people so that her identification is not that easy. So I have within my mind 1,000 raw tricks. And not only that, not only those 20 lies, I also have raw tricks in my mind of those bragging jacks. You always have a bragging jack in your class, particularly for boys. Yeah, bragging jacks. And they will always say, you know what, I can do this, I can do that. And people who brag so much. And jack, the moment you hear the jack means jack of all trades. You've heard this proverb many a times, jack of all trades, master of none. There's somebody who can play cricket. There's somebody who can play. There's the same person who can play football quite well. He plays tennis as well. He can speak very well. He can sing very well. He can dance very well. So everywhere you see him participating. He may not go on to win all of the competitions, but then he's good in everything. So that's what you call a person, jack. And then that way, this person becomes a very popular person. So that is why they're known as jack. And every locality, every family, even in a family, you'll have those jacks there. And she says that I am very familiar with those jacks. I know their bragging tricks, and I'm going to use all of those. I'm going to practice all of those when I am in my disguise. But come, I'll tell you all about the whole device. I'm going to share the entire story. I'm going to share my entire plan with you while we are in a coach. And that coach is waiting for us at the park gate. So she's kept ready. The coach is there, the carriage is there, where she's going to be there. And therefore, haste away, let's go quickly, for we must measure 20 miles today. And she says we're going to measure 20 miles today. And that's why we need to hurry, right? So to this, they make an exit to this scene, and we conclude this portion as well. That is Act 3, Scene 4 here.